Good morning, everyone. My name is Pradeep. I'm a senior application engineer at Beacon, Best Engineering Aids and Consultancies, based out of Bangalore. Today, we are going to talk about what's new in SolidWorks 2012. I'll be covering all the significant enhancements or improvements that SolidWorks has incorporated in its latest release, 2012. We are right on time. I have got content for, let's say, 30-40 minutes. There are a lot of enhancements this year, but I won't be able to cover all of them, so I have carefully picked the significant ones. So let's get started. It should be a real exciting session for those of you who are using 2011 and who have been following SolidWorks throughout the years. So before we begin, I just wanted to say we are doing a couple of poll questions this webinar just to get some feedback from you. I just wanted to know how many of you are using SolidWorks, which version of SolidWorks you're using. So please, there'll be a poll question launched on your screen, so please feel free to answer it. I'll leave it on the screen for another 20-30 seconds. Interesting update. I'll share the results so you also get to know who's using what. Okay, I've got about 77% of votes. So let's wait for another 10 seconds. Yeah, I just wanted to get a feel for who's using what version of SolidWorks so that I can, tune my presentation accordingly. Okay, I think we've got a fair amount of voting, so let me share the results. So, majority are using SolidWorks 2012 already, so it will be interesting for you to notice the enhancements which you not noticed till now, and for the 2011 or earlier users, it will be a absolute joyride for you because we'll be showing a lot of interesting enhancements from SolidWorks. Please let us know if you have any technical glitches in logging in or any other technical difficulties in hearing the audio. We can definitely help you out. So let's get started. Let me remove the poll results. So 2012 is the 20th release of the flagship software of Dassault System SolidWorks. And for those of you who have been following SolidWorks from, let's say, earlier years, 2000 and on, you would have noticed that every year SolidWorks incorporates fantastic changes to its software. And interestingly, most of these enhancements or improvements, they come directly from the customers. So this year alone, SolidWorks has over 200 enhancements in software. It is again spread across different capabilities. It can be productivity enhancement tools, it can be drawing, sketching, assembly, also the product data management side of it. So over 200 enhancements in SolidWorks 2012 alone, and interesting update here is that 90% of these enhancements are directly driven by the customers. So SolidWorks is carefully hearing what people have to say. So if you have any interesting or useful additions that you feel that SolidWorks has to make to its software, please let us know, or please let SolidWorks know. You can, if you have access to customer portal, you can directly log in and submit your request, and I'm pretty sure guys at SolidWorks are listening. So let's get started without further delay. We are right on time. So these are the 4 different categories that I can broadly think of that the SolidWorks design changes in 2012 can be categorized into. The first category falls into the design automation or the productivity enhancement part of it, where the simple functions like sketch tools or the assembly tools that we use on a day-to-day basis have been made easier. So we'll be focusing on them for the first part of the presentation. Then we'll move to the second category, which broadly talks about the stability part of it. For those of you who are using large assemblies, I mean, this could be a real blast for you. And we have Features like feature freeze, which is a fantastic addition in 2012. It is one of my favorite enhancements. What it essentially does is it eliminates those annoying waiting times for your products to rebuild. So I'll be showing it during the demonstration part of it. And the next couple of enhancements, they fall into the categories where you basically change the way you work. SolidWorks 2012 has a fantastic costing tool which enables you to estimate the manufacturing costs of your products. It can be sheet metal or it can be a machine product. So I'll be showing the SolidWorks costing tool, which is a revolutionary addition, first among its kind among the CAD, all the other CAD platforms. And lastly, we have some EPDM and 3D VIA enhancements, which I'll talk about the project collaboration and the connectivity part of it. So let's move on. So as I said, the first category automates design functions you use most often. So these are simple features or simple tools that we use on a day in and a day out basis. So we'll talk about user interface. As you all know, SolidWorks has got the best user interface among all the CAD platforms. So interesting enhancements here to make it even more flexible and even more faster. And then we talk about we'll talk about sketching improvements, which again we all use on a day-to-day basis. And then I'll show something about equations for those of you who are using equations inside your sketches. This will be interesting for you. And then we'll talk about drawings. The bottom line is you are streamlining repetitive tasks, something which might take 3 or 4 steps have now been condensed into one. So bottom line is you are saving time everywhere possible, so making your design work more fun, and again, complex tasks are being made simple. So now let me switch into SolidWorks. Let's talk about user interface first. Let's start with something very simple. So for those of you who are using SolidWorks 2011 or earlier, this should be your first look at SolidWorks. So here is SolidWorks 2012. They have, if you have noticed, there's a change in the logo here. It looks more cool. So the first enhancement I have here is about the user interface. If you are using 2011, you would have already known about the recent documents menu. It is launched by pressing the R key on your keyboard. So in here we have access to all the recently used documents. It can be parts, assemblies, or drawings. So in 2012 we have furthermore refined this. You see this push pins. We have now the ability to push pin a document so that it remains there, it stays put there. So this capability will let you access all the frequently used documents. Let's say you're working on a couple of assemblies and a couple of drawings in a given week. So every time you don't have to go and pick it up from the Windows Explorer. Instead, you can pin those documents onto the recent documents menu, and you can open it right from here. And you can also open the folder in which the part of the assembly or the drawing resides in. Let's say I want to locate where this sheet metal part is located and it resides in my Explorer. I can just click on show in folder, and SolidWorks will open up the folder in which it resides for me. So that is pretty neat. So it saves a lot of time, eliminates all your toggling between Windows Explorer and SolidWorks times. And if you are a guy who goes to file and pull down the file pull down menus, you can have access to these commands from the pull down menu as well. You can notice that I have pinned a bunch of documents mostly for this demonstration, and you can also open them up right from here. So this is for the first enhancement I want to talk about. So all you have to do is pin the document or unpin the document right from the recent documents menu or the file pull down menu. So let's launch one of the documents. The next enhancement I have here is something which we might have all felt the need of it at some point or the other. Sometimes it's always good to have a Control A selection in your assemblies or in your sketches. Let's say you want to select every single thing on the graphical interface. We just do it by Windows drag until 2011, but now the standard Windows hotkey Control A works perfectly fine. So by doing a Control A, you can do some operation which you want to do with all the components in your assembly or all the entities in your sketches. So just use Control A, and you can make those changes to all the components at a single click. And if you're a person who's always opening multiple browsers and switching between multiple windows, you have now the option of click to tile left and click to tile right. So for those of you who are using multiple monitors or who are used to tiling windows horizontally, SolidWorks 2012 has this fantastic addition which will let you tile your windows horizontally with minimal effort. So now you can easily work in multiple windows. So all you have to do is make use of the click to tile left and click to tile right icons. And if you're using Windows 7, it has been made a lot easier in Windows 7 also. So let's say you want to tile a particular SolidWorks window onto your left and you're working on a Word document. So you can just drag the SolidWorks window all the way onto the left, and Windows 7 will snap it in place. And you can drag the PowerPoint to the right and it will snap it in place. So this is a very similar addition in Windows 7. As you all know, Windows and SolidWorks are tightly coupled, so a lot of enhancements in user interface part are actually brought in from Windows 7. You can also pin documents right from your taskbar. So this is a Windows 7 edition. This is not a SolidWorks 2012 edition, but it is very similar. It is not only restricted to SolidWorks. You can pin your other files such as your PowerPoint presentations, Word documents, etc. Any other documents. So let's move on. One of the interesting enhancements in 2012 was the mouse gestures. I'll talk about mouse gestures for a while because it's one of my favorite productivity tools in SolidWorks. For those of you who are using SolidWorks from let's say 2005 or earlier, you might have been familiar with the shortcut menu. As it pops open with by pressing the S key on your keyboard, and it is completely customizable. You can drag and drop the commands that you feel that you most often need. So it's a fantastic addition. What it essentially does is it eliminates the mouse travel all the way from the center of the screen to wherever your commands or tools are located. So, and this follows your mouse wherever you go. So the bottom line is you're eliminating the mouse travel and hence the time associated with it. But mouse gestures is even better than shortcut toolbar. It is you can launch it by just one continuous movement. It's a right click drag movement, and you have access to the frequently used commands, and it is again completely customizable. The only limitation I see here from mouse gestures to shortcut menu is that you have a limitation of having 8 commands at the most. So, and again, it is different for different environments: part environment, drawing environment, assembly environment. So in mouse gestures in 2012, what we have here is let me go to mouse gestures. So there are a couple of enhancements here. The most important enhancement in mouse gestures in 2012 is that you have now the option of placing OK or cancel in your mouse gestures. We all know that when we are performing a certain command or a feature, when you are using a certain feature, you either have to do OK or a cancel, right? Let me just show you what I mean. Let's say I want to edit this pattern. So from here, you either you make your changes or you just want to have a look at it. From here, the way to move on is you either say OK or cancel. You can do it from your right top corner or your left from your feature manager. But in 2012, you can have access to OK and cancel. So you can directly say OK or directly say cancel right from your mouse gestures. I have just OK placed here, but if you want, you can also have a cancel. So this is the addition in mouse gestures. Apart from this, now you have the ability to launch a macro from the mouse gestures. So the way to customize your mouse gestures is go to Tools, Customize, and you have a mouse gestures tab. So when it features a dynamic search window. So you start typing the feature that you're looking for, and it will be shown on the screen. So in 2012, we have a new macro button wherein you can locate a particular macro file, a SWP file, and you can associate it with one of the mouse gestures or one of the directions. So if you are more into macros and if you constantly use macros, you now don't have to go to macros toolbar, click on run and then go locate it from the Windows Explorer. You can assign it to one of your mouse gestures and you can launch it right from your mouse gestures. So that is one very interesting. In a way, we are eliminating 8 or 9 keystrokes into single stroke. So that's about mouse gestures, and let's move on. I have a question. Let me just okay, I think we can move on. Okay, the next addition or the next enhancement in user interface is about the section views. We all know that we use section views very often, and we all know that we can create section views on 3 different planes. So let me launch one particular section view here. So it allows you to get a better understanding in your assemblies, to get a better, if you want to interrogate more into assemblies, it always helps to have a section view in place. So I have here on my screen a section view, but to make it more interesting, SolidWorks has come up with a property. You see those cap colors. These are usually shown when you're creating the section, but in 2012, you can now keep the cap color in place. So all I have to do is check the keep cap color button, and SolidWorks will let me retain those colors for the section. So this gives a nice look and a better understanding of your product, especially if you're sharing this with someone who's looking at it for the first time. Having the cap color on always helps. So this is about section views in 2012. And for those of you who care about how good your products are looking on screen, now we have something called as ambient occlusion in your graphics settings. So you can turn it on and you will immediately notice the difference. So it gives you a nice rendered look to your product. So you can launch ambient occlusion right from your graphics settings. It should be switched on with real view graphics, of course. So you'll notice a change when I take it off. So previously you had to go to apply scene and pick up the ambient occlusion from there. So the next enhancement, if you would have noticed on the taskbar on the bottom, or the status bar on the bottom, you have a unit switcher in place. So for those of you who are working with multiple unit systems, you can now switch between different unit systems right from the taskbar or the status bar. So now you don't have to go to tools, options, and then document units. You can always launch the edit document units control panel from your taskbar itself. You can control the accuracy level. This will enormously help for those of you who are working with different standards and different unit systems. And let's come to the last enhancement in user interface. It is called the command search. I'm pretty sure this would have happened to every single one of you who's listening out there today. It has happened to me on many occasions. You remember we're trying to do something, we're trying to create a design, and you want to use a particular command or you want to use a particular feature of SolidWorks. You have previously used it before, but now you cannot just locate it. You know what I mean? You just cannot find it on any of the toolbars on the command manager or any of the pull down menus, so you keep struggling, and finally you end up going to help. You look up that particular command, and then SolidWorks help will redirect you to that particular command saying go to tools, go to sketch entities, go to this particular menu, and then you launch it. So instead of all that roundabout process, SolidWorks has now a command search window on the top of your screen. So if you want to locate a particular command, let's say a whole alignment, you just start typing, and it's a dynamic search. So SolidWorks will locate that particular command for you. And from here you can go in two different directions. One is you can click and launch that particular command and make use of it, or you can click on this show command location. You can click on this spyglasses, and SolidWorks will point out that particular command for you. So this is a very interesting update. It saves a lot of time for those of you who are just picking up SolidWorks, or to even the experienced users who sometimes just cannot locate a command. So this will help enormously. So again, I'll look for something else, like say whole wizard. So just start typing and SolidWorks will locate it for you, and you can, if you want, you can just drag and place it on your command managers. And by the way, command managers are extremely flexible. You can customize them to a great extent. You can just drag and drop any of these commands onto the particular command manager tabs, or you can create your own tab. I previously talked about it when I was doing SolidWorks tips and tricks. Just click on this and create add tab, and then you can start drag and dropping your favorite commands. I highly recommend doing this because it saves a lot of time. So on. And you can always toggle it off when you don't need it. So keep it really simple. The user interface, SolidWorks has got an extremely flexible user interface, and you can even tweak it to a great extent to suit your requirements or needs. So that's about SolidWorks user interface enhancements. I'm pretty sure you have liked them all, especially the command search and the click to tile left and click to tile right. All of these are time savers, huge time savers. So now let's move on to the next part. I'll talk about the sketching improvements in SolidWorks 2012. I'm already making use of the 2012 enhancements. You saw that I have pinned down most of my documents that I'm going to be using for today's presentation. So in sketching improvements, I'll talk about the enhancements which I feel mostly help the users who are working with revolved components, revolved features or circular components. So let me start by editing the sketch. So on my screen I have a sketch that I'm going to make use for the revolved extrude later. So to fully define the sketch, I need to create some dimensions, especially diameter dimensions, right from this center line to all this horizontal sketch lines. So we all know that we will use smart dimension. It's very easy to use. So you start placing the dimension, either radius or diameter. In SolidWorks 2012, after you place your first dimension, you notice there is something different about the icon there. You notice that it is showing the center line and the diameter icon. So what it essentially is saying is, don't again pick the center line, just keep adding your diameter dimensions. So it has retained the center line selection, and now all you have to do is place your diameter dimensions. So it eliminates a lot of picks and clicks, especially if you are working in complex geometry. And we need one more dimension to fully define the sketch. So one interesting update about SolidWorks 2012 is we all might have run into this problem, at least once. So you keep starting dimensioning. You start dimensioning your sketches. You obviously have to pick two references. After you pick the first reference, you obviously have to pick a second reference. So let me pick this guy over here. And oftentimes we end up picking a wrong reference for the dimension to be in place. So we have to press escape and start all over again. But in SolidWorks 2012, you can hit escape and you notice that SolidWorks is retaining its first selection here. So now you don't have to pick the first reference again. Instead, you can go and pick the second reference which you were wrongly locating for the first time. So I'll repeat it again because this is a little bit tricky. Let me delete this guy. So when adding a smart dimension, we need to pick two references. Oftentimes we mess up picking wrong references. So here I have picked my first reference correctly, and if I had picked a second reference wrongly as such, I can just hit escape and SolidWorks won't go back to doing it from scratch. Instead, it will retain the first selection, and now you can select the second reference correctly and keep it in place. So this again will help a lot. So we have a fully defined sketch. Let's go and extrude it. So we have a nice extruded component here. And let's say we want to make use of this component, one of the faces of this component, and we want to create a hole. Previously, you select a face, you start sketching, right? And then you had to go and say or reorient the screen so that it is normal to your sketch. But in SolidWorks 2012, all you have to do is click the particular face and click on sketch, and SolidWorks will orient it for you. So you don't have to go and do the normal to operation so that the sketch is always oriented properly towards the screen, and you can start sketching right away. So I want to place a circle. You notice something different about the sketch entity that I'm trying to create. I'm trying to create a circular entity. I've just picked the midpoint, and you can see that now SolidWorks will enable you to dimension it dynamically as you keep sketching it. So you don't have to wait till the end of the operation. So you can key in your dimensions as you keep dynamically adding it. Now I want to, let's say, pattern this. And let's say I want to do a cut extrude on this. So one more interesting enhancement about sketching tools or SolidWorks 2012 in general is that they have made all the menus extremely flexible. So let's say I'm trying to create a cut extrude from this sketch pattern over here. So if I want to say I want it through all, I have to go to my feature manager and select through all, right? But now instead you can just right click wherever you are on your screen, and you have an option of selecting through all right from your screen. So again, the user interface and the menus are extremely flexible, so you can customize it to a great extent to help you fasten your day-to-day design work. So these are the sketching improvements in 2012. I've shown you most of the commands which are associated with Revolute Revolve components, but you can apply them some generic ones like the right-click menus and the dynamic dimensioning. Now let's talk about equations. For those of you who are using equations, you'll notice something very interesting here. And for those of you who are not using equations, I strongly recommend using equations because you can take a great deal of work out of your sketching. Okay, don't worry about the warning sign. It is put in place on purpose. I'll talk about it when I go to the next part where I'll launch the equation manager or the equation editor. For those of you who have worked with equation editor in 2011, 2010 or earlier editions, you notice that it is completely revamped. It has got an extreme makeover, and we have now 3 different modes in which you can view the equation manager. The first is a equation view, which will allow you to have a sorted display of global variables, of the features, equations, etc. And you can look at the value and you can look at the equation and the value that it evaluates to, and you can also put comments in place so that you know which variable is what. And the second mode is the dimension view, which will list out all the dimensions in your sketch. So if you want to add an equation to any of your dimension in your sketch, you can do it right from the equation manager. And the third view is the most interesting one. It is called the ordered view. In this case, I have 3 equations in my model here. The first one is a global variable called thickness, and I have a couple of equations associated with a couple of dimensions. You notice there is a warning symbol right next to it. It says the equations are out of order, which means that the order in which the equations are created is not correct. SolidWorks has already sensed that, and it is not able to proceed further. Previously, we used to have similar problems in 2011 and earlier. Now SolidWorks has this automatic solve order. What this does is it automatically reorders the equations in the right order in which they should be solved. So as soon as I click automatic solve order, SolidWorks will reorder these equations, and you will notice that the warning symbol is gone now. So what it has just done is it has swapped equation number 2 and equation number 3, so that first it will solve for equation number 2, then it will substitute the value from equation number 2 onto the equation number 3. So a very interesting feature. If you are, this is just a simple example, but let's say you have a model with 20 or more equations, and oftentimes you'll struggle to get the order right. So now all that can be easily addressed by using automatic solve order inside SolidWorks. Let's go back to the equation view. I want to create a global variable here. Let's say overall length. It is extremely easy to create a variable, and it will also help you in picking up information. I'll just say 75 mm. And you can also add a nice comment just to keep a reminder of what this variable is pointing towards. So now I have added a global variable. Now what I want to do next is add an equation. So let's see how easy it is to add an equation. All I have to do is go to the equations tab, and so I want to add an equation to this variable called the depth. So now to add an equation to one of these dimensions called the depth, I have just clicked the dimension depth from the user from the graphical interface, and now to help me to create the equation, SolidWorks is nicely pointing towards all the different variables and functions. Like global variables, I can pick thickness or overall length. I can pick any of the functions. I can even pick up file properties or custom properties. And this is interesting measure tool. I'll talk about it. So let's start by creating an equation here. Okay, let's use overall length that we have just created. I want to subtract a value from this. but it's not in any of the dimensions, or it's not in any of the variables. So I can either start creating a dimension, but instead I can use the measure tool right from where we are. So you pick the measure tool, and you can create a dimension on the fly. So what I'm doing here is I'm creating an equation, reference equation on the reference dimension on the fly. So even if you don't have a dimension associated, or even if you don't have a value indicated, you can just use measure tool so that you can pick it up on the fly. So we have added an equation for the depth. And you notice this option, you can now click automatically rebuild, so that you can check the automatically rebuild option, so that SolidWorks will automatically rebuild the model whenever it senses a change in any of the dimensions or the equations. Let's edit this overall length. I want to make it equal to the width. So having automatically rebuild will eliminate the need for rebuild. So there you go. You notice there is a slight misalignment in the whole pattern here. We'll just quickly fix it by creating an equation on the fly, not from the equation editor, but right from where we are. Let's say I want to rename this particular dimension. I can do it right from my. So I have renamed this particular dimension to width, and now I want to control the spacing. I want to get it correct. You can see that it's slightly misaligned. So I will just add a dimension, or the equation for the dimension on the fly. So this is the modify dimension dialog box we are all very familiar with. You can right now create an equation right from inside this dialog box. Just press equal to, and you can start creating an equation. So to get the spacing right, I need to use width, and I need to subtract something called spacing over here. So I have just added an equation on the fly, and if I rebuild, you will notice that we have got the pattern correct now. So SolidWorks equations in 2012 are extremely effective. They not only make your life easier, it also makes your work a lot faster and more efficient than before. So that's about equations in SolidWorks. For those of you who are using equations already, this will be a blast. But if you're not using equations, I highly recommend start using equations. Next up, let's talk about drawings. We all use drawings on a day-to-day basis, so it's always good to talk about drawings. So you all know that SolidWorks has always allowed us to open parts from a drawing. You can just right-click. You can select a part, and you can say open the part. So it will open up that particular part where you have actually picked or clicked. So in 2012, there is an important addition to this. Let me wait for the document to rebuild. Okay, so what I want to show you now is the recent addition in SolidWorks 2012. We all know that SolidWorks will let us open the part when you click on the when you click on a particular area in your drawing. It will say open part. It will enable you to open the part right from the drawing window. But in addition to that, you can now open the sub-assembly in which the part is located, or you can open up the whole assembly in one go. So this couple of things are new to SolidWorks 2012. Let's say I want to open up the sub-assembly in which this part is located. I can do it right from here. So let's open up that sub-assembly. Okay, let's make a addition or a small change here so that I can show you one more important enhancement in drawings. Let's say we edit the spacing between these two holes. Currently it is 80 millimeters. Let me change it to 75 millimeters. I'll quickly say rebuild. Okay, what I've just done is I've made a small design change. Let me open up the drawing which is associated with this subassembly. And in SolidWorks 2012, what you can now notice is SolidWorks will actually point out, or it will highlight those particular dimensions which are modified. So we design changes in design are always an integral part of our work. We keep making changes to our designs constantly. So at times we are interested in knowing if that particular dimension has been, or that particular change has been reflected in our drawing or not. So if you are having complex drawings which are quite messy, it will be a difficult task to verify that change. But in SolidWorks 2012, you notice that SolidWorks is pointing out to the dimensions which have now been changed from the earlier version. So previously this was 80. SolidWorks will even point out to the previous value. So previously this was 40 and now it is 37.5. So you make a design change and SolidWorks will help you in verifying it very easily. This is one of the important changes, enhancements in SolidWorks. And let's say I want to create center marks for this. Previously we had a roundabout way of doing it, but now you can create center marks for all of these, for all holes, let's say, at one single click. Okay, one more important addition about our enhancement about SolidWorks 2012 is previously we are all familiar with view palette. It automatically populates views. Previously view palette was being refreshed or was being reloaded every time some change happens. So this used to eat up a lot of memory. So now you can explicitly refresh it to detect any changes. So now if I have an isometric exploded view in my assembly, SolidWorks will automatically detect that and it will load into my view palette. So I'm pointing out to an isometric exploded view on my view palette. So previously you had to drag an isometric view and then right click and then say show it in exploded state. But now if you have exploded view in your assembly or a subassembly, SolidWorks will automatically detect that and it will load the view palette with this isometric exploded view. Let me just drag it in. And let me add a bill of materials. And no bill of materials is complete without balloon. So let me use auto balloon. You're all familiar with this. So you notice something different about the auto balloon feature. We have now the famous magnetic lines from the 3D VIA composer brought into SolidWorks. So this will be extremely helpful in aligning Okay, these magnetic lines are extremely helpful in aligning, but let me just show you something else before we go there. We can now carefully choose the item with which you want the balloons to start with. Like let's say you want your ordering to start from this part. You can now order it sequentially by selecting the first item, or you can change it, and your bill of materials will also be automatically updated. So this is auto balloon, and I'll talk about the magnetic lines. These are extremely helpful if you have a complex assemblies. So you can even make them angular, and you can, let's say you are interested in spacing them out evenly. SolidWorks will now help you in doing that. You just click on the magnetic line and it will ask you to create equal spacing on a free drag. Now extremely flexible auto balloon features. So what else is there in drawings? I think I've covered it all. If you choose to show it in on a unexploded state, you can just right click and do it. Previously you had to go to properties and check a particular checkbox. So now it has been boiled down to one single right click. So these are the enhancements in SolidWorks drawings. And let's move on to feature freeze. This is one of my favorite enhancements in 2012. Let's see if we have any questions in the meantime. Please feel free to drop in your questions if you have any in your chat window, and we'll make sure that you get the right answers. So the next enhancement I'll talk about is called the feature freeze. Now this comes into the second category. Till now we have talked about user interface, we talked about sketching improvements, we talked about equations and drawings. Now we'll talk about the enhancements which are more focused on improving the performance of SolidWorks, improving the stability of SolidWorks for a better workflow. So enhancements like feature freeze, large design review, these are falling into this category. I'll talk about feature freeze first because this is applicable for every one of you, no matter how small or how big your assemblies are. And then we'll talk about large design review, which focuses on large assemblies. And then we'll talk about a couple of enhancements in sustainability. So let me launch a particular model. Have my iPad designed in SolidWorks. So what I have here on my screen is an iPad assembly. It's a very carefully designed assembly to a great detail. And I have an iPad wrap here, a plastic component. Let me open it up in a separate window. So this is a small plastic component, iPad wrap, completely designed in SolidWorks. And I have a couple of configurations here. One is a blank configuration, and there's another configuration which has a logo in it. So let me activate that configuration for you. And so as you know, SolidWorks will rebuild all the features. You can see on the status bar that it is rebuilding feature so-and-so of 70. So it rebuilds every single one of these features, all the fillets, chamfers, cut extrudes, every single one of them. So I mean, it'll take some time. Yeah, there you go. So we have a logo carefully placed on your iPad wrap. It's Dassault Systems logo. Let's look at the time it took to rebuild this configuration or to switch between the configuration. It took about 23 seconds. And have one more configuration. It's a hexastar configuration. It has got even more detail than the logo that you're looking at. So it is as you can see, SolidWorks is again pointing out that it's rebuilding features. There are 73 features in all, so it is rebuilding all of those features. And as I said, it has a complex pattern. It has got a lot of detail in it. So obviously, it's going to take some time in rebuilding all these features. So this wait can be annoying. I hope you all agree with me when I say this. This 8 seconds or 10 seconds you wait for SolidWorks to rebuild all these features, it can be a little bit annoying. You need to either keep staring at your screen or go check your email. So in 2012, we have a very interesting update called the feature freeze, which will now eliminate all this rebuild time. Let me wait for this to switch between configurations. So we're not even doing anything here. We're not adding anything. We're not editing anything. We're just switching between configurations, and SolidWorks is taking a considerable amount of time in rebuilding this. So we can eliminate all of this wait time by using feature freeze. It has a linear pattern. I think it is updating the linear pattern. Okay. Here you go. So this is the hexa star configuration I was talking about. So it has got a great amount of detail, a lot of cuts involved, a lot of patterning involved. So no wonder it took so much of time. Let's look at the time that it took to rebuild. Total of 77 seconds. It is pretty huge. So let me show you how we can eliminate all this waiting time. You'll notice this yellow bar in our assembly tree. This is called the feature freeze bar. So you can drag this bar and you can place it anywhere in your assembly, on your assembly tree, and you can tell SolidWorks, do not rebuild all these features. I have already freezed all of these design features, so I'm not going to make any changes in any of them. So do not rebuild it explicitly every time I do something. So from here on, SolidWorks will, you notice there is a lock icon associated with all these features. So now SolidWorks has locked all these features and it's not going to rebuild it when we change between different configurations. So let's go back to configurations tab and let's switch between configurations now. So let's go back to the blank, and now I'll switch to the logo. You notice that the rebuild time is 0. That's because you have freezed all the features, even between the logo and the hexa star configuration. Now SolidWorks is taking literally no time at all to rebuild. So this can be a very, very huge addition or a huge improvement. What you have essentially done is you have freezed all these features. So SolidWorks is now not going to bother about rebuilding all those features. Let's say let's talk about some design changes. What if we have a design change, and what if we want to rebuild something? Let me open up that logo. I have a small caption here which is right below this logo of Dassault Systems. Let me enable it, and now if you go back to your wrap, if you go back to the assembly tree or the feature manager, you notice that SolidWorks is pointing out to rebuild a particular frozen feature. So now you know that you need to update it. So you can right click on the feature freeze bar and you can say update frozen features. So it will update only that particular feature, and now you can notice that it is already been updated. And now again changing between different configurations will happen within no time. So you can make use of this if you have complex detail in your parts or assemblies. It will be a huge productivity enhancer. All these annoying wait times in front of your the monitors can be eliminated. So that is feature freeze. We are running a little bit short of time, so I'll skip sustainability. Sustainability has got SolidWorks Sustainability, as you all know, is a green design tool inside SolidWorks. You can estimate the environmental impacts of your products. We have a couple of interesting updates there. Large design review. Let me talk about large design review, and then we'll move on to SolidWorks costing. So for those of you who are used to handling large assemblies and who have enormous wait times, this will be an interesting update. Previously we had large assembly mode and lightweight and resolved modes to help you with this, to help you with dealing with large assemblies. Now we have an interesting update. It's called the large design review. When you check this, SolidWorks will open up this assembly. This is a crusher house, a plant assembly. It is a huge assembly. It has got about 5,000 components or 6,000 components. So in large design review, you will not have all the features that you get in the all the capabilities that you get in normal assembly. So it will be limited to these. Let me open it up. So without large design review, it would have at least taken 4 minutes or 5 minutes, even on the high-end computers. But now we have a huge assembly open within no time. Let me go to Assembly Expert and show you how big this assembly is. It has got 5,956 components, and it has got a great amount of detail. And as you can see, we don't have all the capabilities available. If you look at the command manager, we have measure tools, we have section views, we have selective open. So it will be limited, but for design reviews, this is an excellent tool. Let's say you want to hide some of the components. You can do it right from here. And let's say you want to measure something, like let's say the measure the tallest pillar. You can use the measure tool. So this structural member over here is 58 meters long. So you can do all these operations. In addition to that, you can add walkthroughs. For those of you who are interested in creating nice walkthroughs for your large assemblies, you can create nice walkthroughs right from this design review. So I have a couple of walkthroughs created. Let me just go through them. Oh, it's taking a little bit of time. There's a little bit of delay between my screen and your screen, so please hang on for a couple of seconds. It should be up anytime. Okay, there you go. So we can create a detailed walkthroughs right from your large design review. You don't have to be in the full uh, design mode for this. I'm pretty sure that lag between the screen times is causing a little bit of delay. It is a nice walkthrough which will take you down the stairs, and it will give you a nice visual perspective of your large assembly. And in addition to that, you can create snapshots. Snapshots are something like pictures that you take with your cameras. So you can create snapshots for particular parts on your for particular areas in your large assemblies. So that's about large design review. Let's move on to the SolidWorks costing, because this is a revolutionary new addition in SolidWorks 2012, and SolidWorks is one of the first CAD platforms to have a costing tool incorporated into it. So this pretty much enables you to estimate or evaluate the costs of your manufacturing. It can be either sheet metal or a machine part. In this case, I have a sheet metal assembly here. Let me open up this enclosure, and you notice that the SolidWorks costing tool placed on your evaluate tab. So let me launch sheet metal costing. SolidWorks will automatically detect if it's a sheet metal costing or if it's a machine costing. So on the right, I have my sheet metal costing template. I think SolidWorks went into unresponsive mode. I was trying to do too many different things at the same time. So just hang on for a second. So here on my screen, SolidWorks costing, we have a right. Okay, let me. Okay. So sheet metal costing, we have a right pane or a wizard which will help you in estimating the cost of associated with your sheet metal parts or your machine parts. You can create templates which are very accurate and which actually define your costs associated with manufacturing. I'll launch the template editor in a while, but I'll just show you. Let me pick up a material, and SolidWorks will estimate the cost associated per part. I have the cost in US dollars, but it can easily be customized to Indian rupees. You can edit the thickness of the material, let's say from 1.6 to 1.4, and you can immediately see there's a decrease in the cost. So it is very good for doing a what-if analysis, or you can even set a baseline, and you can edit between different configurations if you have configurations, just to do a quick comparison between one configuration, the cost for one configuration to the other one. So SolidWorks will update the results, and it will enable you, or it will allow you to create a nice report out of the costing. So here what I'm doing is I'm just comparing a couple of different configurations. One is a fully flanged configuration, and one is a different way of doing it. It's the lightning hole configuration. So SolidWorks will update the results for me. So you can see that the cost has gone down from 64.62 to 59.58, and it even points out the percentage in reduction of the cost. And let me go back to the sheet metal costing tab here. It will talk about the cost for each operation, for each cut path, for each bend. We have 10 different bends, and you can associate a cost with each of them. And you have even custom operations like powder coating. So let me launch the template editor and show you how you set it up basically. So you can pick your currencies, you can pick up the setup cost, you can define your setup costs like inspection, etc. And then you can define the material costs for different materials that are being used at your manufacturing setup. And then for different thicknesses, you can have different material cost per kilogram. And then for different manufacturing operations or fabrication operations, like since this is a sheet metal component, you have cuts, you have bends, and then you have certain library features like forming tools, etc. And even some custom operations like powder coating, you can have a cost associated with it, so that SolidWorks will accurately estimate the costs associated. It will also help you in documenting the study or documenting this costing. So I have a costing report done already, so SolidWorks will assist you in documenting this. So it will be a nice report. You can customize it with your company logos and company detail, and SolidWorks will create a nice report with all the cost breakdowns for all the cut parts, bends, punch features, everything. And then if you're comparing different configurations, you can set a baseline, and then you can compare it with the other configurations. So overall a very nice addition. It is also used for not only for sheet metal parts, for machine parts as well. So let's see if I have time to open up the machine part. Okay, for the machine part, the costing will be very similar. It will be there'll be costs associated for milling operations and other hole operations. So let's move on to the final part, the sheet metal enhancements. This is for all the sheet metal customers out there. So what I have here on my screen is a assembly with some sheet metal components with some wire channels running around and some weldment structures. So in SolidWorks 2012, in sheet metal, what we have is a very interesting update. Let me isolate this. So let me edit this part. So if you go to sheet metal tab, you'll notice that we now have a feature called swept flange, which is basically a sweep feature for sheet metal. Like any other sweep feature in SolidWorks, you need a profile and a path for this. So I'll select the profile, I'll select the path, and SolidWorks sheet metal will now add a swept flange as such, and you can also flatten it like any other sheet metal component. So if you have to create wire channels or any other flanges which run around in a particular path, you can use swept flange for this. And not only that, we have a couple of other interesting enhancements. Let me go to one particular orientation. So we have a electrical enclosure, sheet metal enclosure here. Like let's say I want to add a flange, edge flange for this. Previously in SolidWorks, I have to select this edge, and then I need to select the distance. So I can either go up to vertex or I can give a blind. So let me select up to vertex and carefully pick one. Okay. So I have picked the vertex. So now I have my flange length right up to the vertex. So now let's say I want it in this particular angle. So I can keep decreasing the angle. But you notice that SolidWorks will not retain the length. The length will be always up to the vertex, whatever it is. So what if I want the length of the flange to be till this structural member? So now I have an option of choosing parallel to base flange, which will help me in placing in having the right length. And for flange position, you always have material inside, material outside, and other options. So let me end it here, and let me open it up in a different part just to make it more clear. So I want to add one more edge flange on this face. And you can control the length of the flange in a bunch of different ways. One is going for a blind, or you can select any other vertex. But what I want to do now is I want to carefully align this profile, this edge flange along this profile. So in SolidWorks, we have options of material inside, material outside, bend outside, and bend from virtual sharp options. In SolidWorks 2012, we have something called as tangent to bend, which will essentially have your bend parallel to this edge over here. So you can see this is a tangent to bend option. And to get this length right, it used to be a struggle previously. Like I wanted 20 mm length. I want it right till here. So now in SolidWorks, I can choose this tangent bend option, so it will align properly. Let me close up the corners. And I'll show you the interesting updates in sheet metal drawings. For that, I need to close the corners and add a couple of forming features to it. Yeah, there you go. So I have a sketch here which allows me to place the forming features. So I have a couple of form tools like wire clips and louvers. So all I have to do now is drag and drop them onto SolidWorks screen. And previously we used to have a form feature created in one particular configuration, but we can now have it in multiple configurations. You can also flip it right from here, and to position it you just need to drag and drop the part. Let's say I want it in a different orientation. I'll rotate it by 90. There you go. And to place more of these, I'll just need to pick the points. And I have a lower here, which is again made in different configurations. So SolidWorks 2012 will enable you to have it in multiple configurations. You can control the length, you can control the width and the height and other parameters. And positioning it again always is very easy. Just need to pick the points. Let me reorient this one. Okay, there you go. So now we have a couple of form features like louvers and wire clips placed. In SolidWorks 2012, you can have them published in different configurations. So now let's go document this by creating a drawing. In SolidWorks 2012, we have additions like having, you all know, whole tables, and let me wait for the view palette. We have something very similar just for the form features in sheet metal drawings. Yeah, let me just drag in the flat pattern. I'm not really interested in the others. So I have a flat pattern here. So in 2012, I can go to insert tables and you'll see a couple of different editions. I have a bend table and I have a punch table. So you can place a nice bend table. You can just specify the flat pattern and then you can pick one of the standards. And you can have a nice bend table placed. Similarly, you can go to insert tables and you can pick up a punch table if you have form features like louvers or wire clips. For this, you need to define the origin and select the face. And SolidWorks 2012 will let you have a form table as well, like a punch table. And you can even edit this to a great extent if you have similar type, so you can customize it. So that brings us to the end of the presentation. These are the new features in sheet metal in SolidWorks 2012. So if you have any questions, please start typing, keying them in. We'll make sure that you'll get your answers. And I have one more poll question finally, which I would like to, wrap it up. Before we go, I have one more poll question. Would you be interested in a webinar about SolidWorks certifications? This includes SolidWorks Certified Professional CSWP. We'll talk about how you are gonna, how to approach the exam, how to prepare for the exam, and how to get it right. We'll have all, insider information from SolidWorks, so how to handle this certification. So poll is in progress. I'll just leave it on for another couple of 10-15 seconds. So basically, we'll talk about how to register for the certification, and if you're in under active subscription, you get a CSWP event IDs from the resellers, that is us. So you can take the exam free of cost, and we'll also tell you how to prepare for the exam, what you need to go through, and some important tips and tricks for the day of the exam. SolidWorks has a very peculiar way of testing the candidates, so we'll make sure that you have all that information with you so that you can nail the exam in the first go. A small interesting piece of update from SolidWorks World 2012. It recently concluded in San Diego, California, and there is a staggering number of certified SolidWorks professionals. About 50,000 of them are certified worldwide among all the different certification levels: CSWA, CSWP, and CSWE, which is the expert level. So we'll talk about CSWP. We'll talk about even some CSWPE questions as well. So, okay, I think I have all the polls here. Let me show you the results. Okay, so a staggering amount say yes. So yeah, we'll go ahead. We'll have a webinar pretty soon coming up on certified SolidWorks, uh, uh, professional as well as certified SolidWorks expert. Thanks for tuning in. If you have any questions, I'll leave the window open for you to type in, and we'll get back to you shortly. Thanks for your time. We appreciate it. The next webinar is going to be 2 weeks from now, and it will most likely be on SolidWorks certifications. Thank you very much. Um, for those of you who are interested can stay back. The first question is, can we align dimensions with magnetic lines? In SolidWorks, we already have a snap feature which will align dimensions. So if you want to align one dimension with the other, SolidWorks already has something called as snap feature. That these are small yellow snap lines that will help you in placing the dimensions. If you do not want to highlight the change in dimensions, what needs to be done? This is from Mr. Kumar. Okay. Basically, you have options. You have an option of controlling it. If you don't want to highlight the change in dimensions, you can always do that. All you have to do is go to options, drawing options, and then you have a checkbox there which you can uncheck in order to take it off. There is a lot of interest on SolidWorks costing, as I see in the questions panel. So we'll be doing a webinar, which is completely dedicated to SolidWorks costing, in which we will show you how to create a template, how to customize the template based on your, manufacturing processes and manufacturing costs involved, and that will enable you to get it started from your end. We'll talk about both sheet metal as well as machining costs, and we'll make sure that we'll get you in the right direction there. I'll also be sharing this PPT, and we have recorded this webinar, so the recorded version of the webinar also goes online, and you'll get a link where you can access all this information. And for those of you who have missed out or who have tuned in late, you can always get connected through the recorded webinars. Thank you very much. There's a question about SolidWorks costing in a plastic part. Let's see. It should be, I need to check on that. I'll get back to you on that for plastic parts, but I'm assuming it should be, if you have all your information on how the costing is associated with different operations while manufacturing, we can definitely create a template which is very well in line with, the component. It doesn't matter if it is plastic or rubber. All you need is the manufacturing cost associated with each of the operations. So we'll look into it. I'll get back to you on that. One more question. This is very interesting. Is there any option to select a particular feature in feature freeze option? As of now, you can roll the feature freeze bar down, and also you have an option of excluding a particular feature. That's what I believe, but I need to check on whether if you want to. My understanding is you're asking, can we lock down one particular feature and can we leave out all others, right? So I don't think it is there, but let me again check on it. Okay, thank you guys. Thanks for tuning in. We appreciate it. Have a nice day. There is one more question. I'll repeat the question for those of you who are still hanging in. Does imported feature is improved in any kind? I mean, I don't exactly follow the question. Can you elaborate a little bit on that? We have fantastic feature recognition, options in SolidWorks, which will enable you to work on the imported geometry, maybe from other CAD platforms, Unigraphics, etc. And then you can use feature recognition to detect all the features and convert it into native SolidWorks geometry. Okay, one more question about sketch dimensioning. Can we switch between the selected edges? I don't. Okay, I get your question. When you want to, no, currently that is not possible. I mean, SolidWorks 2012 enhancement in dimensioning retains the first reference. Usually, it assumes that you have picked the first reference correctly, and if you have made a mistake in picking up the second reference, then you can click escape. As far as I know, there is no option that enables you to keep your second reference and change the first reference. Yeah, there's one more question about exploded view. You can definitely get exploded view in the view palette. It is automatically populated in the view palette. You don't have to do anything in 2012. Previously, you had to drag an isometric view into the drawing and then right click, go to properties and say show in exploded state. But in 2012, we have an option where we can wherein if you refresh the view palette and if there is an exploded view in your assembly, SolidWorks will automatically detect that there is a exploded view in your assembly, and then it will create a isometric exploded view in your view palette in the drawing, and then you can just drag and drop it onto your drawing. You can create the exploded view. While creating exploded view, you can select the with the lines option, with the dotted line option, so that it is automatically reflected in your exploded views. So that is what I assume when you say exploded sketch. But I'll just put on my email ID on the screen. If you have any questions, can you please elaborate a little bit more on your questions, because that will help me understand the question better and answer it properly. I'm just going to display my email ID. There's one more question about layers in drawings. We in SolidWorks, I mean, we do not follow that AutoCAD layer system, but yeah, please send me the question by email so that I can answer it through email. We deal in different sheets and we deal in different views. We do not talk about layers as such. I think you're referring to AutoCAD option. Thank you. Thank you for listening, and please join us for the next webinar in a couple of weeks.